Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. Today we are talking about language mistakes, funny accidents, and mishaps when people are learning a foreign language. So it should be a fun episode. We're looking forward to bringing you some mistakes that people make when they learn a foreign language. I've definitely made a couple, and I'll mention them later in this episode. I'm curious to see what Jared has found for us as well. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this episode is because you have to be able to laugh at yourself, especially when you learn a foreign language, and making mistakes is a great way to learn and a great way to have fun as well. So we hope you guys really enjoy this episode and get a few laughs along the way. Excuse me. So without further ado, my co-host, my buddy, Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. I would argue some of these mistakes that are made, English speakers make all the time as well, and that might actually even be part of the problem. Mm-hmm. Hello. First, before I talk about what really the problem is, because that's what we're here for, I'm going to spread a little love and ask everyone to follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1, Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. It is exactly a week and 1 day from when this episode hits everyone's ears for the first moment that I'll be in Berlin.
That's right.
Not only am I excited for the trip and reuniting with you, Chan, but I'm also excited for what our Instagram will have on it, because it'll be poppin'. I actually, I'm mad that I just said poppin'. The only reason that's in my mind, I said that almost at the exact same time last episode, and sorry, and I just saw it, and now I'm just like, oh man, I can't believe I just anyway.
These are facts, though. True facts.
That's true. It will be poppin'. I mean, that's just a fact. If you want to email us, you can email us at at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us your untranslatable phrases, which are sayings, idioms, proverbs, things that your parents, grandparents say to you that don't make really any sense in English or when translated to a different language. But, once you translate them or explain them in your mother tongue or whatever native language they're in, they make perfect sense. Kind of like
Mama hoo hoo,
which is I think it's, what was it? Tiger, horse.
Horse. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which actually just means so in Mandarin. So there you go. And spread a little love and give us 5-star reviews. That's what we call a brain fart of the podcasting business right there.
And we'll have a couple of those coming at you guys later today. That's for sure.
Oh, man. I don't know what's come over me. I thought I was wide awake. But I am wide awake, so I don't know what's come over me. But as I said, this episode does come out a week and a day before I'm in Berlin, and I'm very excited for that. I can't even focus on work anymore.
I'm happy to hear you're excited. I'm sad that you can't focus at work.
That's okay.
But I understand. I've been telling everybody here in Kobultov that you're coming. And I have to say, man, people at the ball, word got around. On Friday, I was at the last ball here. Word got around, and people want to meet you. You're a celebrity, bro.
By the way, I've seen some of these people's Instagrams, and they look like perfectly nice people. But I'm also almost like, I get scared of them a little when I see pictures of them.
Why is that?
I don't know. They just look like they... I don't want to say they look like they would be mean to me, because it's really no... it's no, like, insult on them. A lot of people are mean to me. But I don't know. I mean, hold on. You went to another ball?
Yeah.
How many? Is this the last one? Is this the third or the second one?
That was the last one.
Okay.
Third one and the last one. So, yeah.
Right, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so...
how often am I coming up at these school things? It's so interesting that happens, because you never come up at my job, like, ever.
Well, that's probably because you don't talk about the podcast at work either. Maybe for good reason. But
I'm just hoping for someone to come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, I loved you on the Untranslatable podcast. I'm like, who told you about that?
I've had a couple students say that, and that's the thing. I don't really bring it up because if we're being honest, not all of our topics are 100% school appropriate.
How dare you? Slipping on gator piss.
And so I've had a couple students, they'll say, oh, yeah, we really like what you're doing with the podcast. It's really entertaining. So shout out to all of you. We really appreciate it. Hey, they're 18. They're 16 to 18.
Right. Yeah.
They're young. Well, 18, I would say, is a young adult. 16, they're getting there.
I think the quality of my humor maxes out at about an 18-year-old level. So
Probably.
It's perfect. Welcome.
Exactly.
Children.
Exactly. But anyways, yeah, a lot of them were asking me what I was doing for our spring break here in Chomutov, which is when you'll be coming to visit. And so I told them that, and they were like, oh, is Jared coming to Chomutov? So who knows? We might have to go to the pub, and you'll meet some of my students. We'll see.
Oh, right. They can be at... Have you ran into students at the pub?
Well, I've ran into them at the like bar/club here. The pub I like to go to that I told you about in the last episode with the old guy that was a little weird, remember?
Yeah. That
not
kissed
the best
you?
way to not the best way
Yeah.
to preface and try to get you excited, but that's probably the pub I'll take you to. It's also not too far from my apartment. It's I think a 5-minute walk.
Okay.
And I mean, to me it's
Students don't go there.
no, not usually. Some students do,
Not their scene.
and students have found out that's my favorite place here in Chomutov. So maybe I will run into them there in the future. We'll see.
All right. That's hilarious. So you kind of do go to like a old person bar. That's your go-to bar. Is
That's my scene. Yeah, I would say, I would guess
try
the
that
average
out.
age. You totally should. The average age of the clientele there has to be in the 50s. Has to be. I mean, most of the guys there have gray hair.
I don't even know where to find that. I did see. I was walking by a place yesterday that's literally only like a minute from my place, and it was a bar, but it looked so like old school inside, both by the clientele, and just by the decor was so simple. It almost looked like something from the 70s, like Cheers or something like that.
Oh,
and
nice.
And as I was walking by, I was like, I should go in. I was like, I'll go in later. And then, of course, I didn't. But maybe I'll go back and report. It was very homely feeling almost. So tell me about this ball. Apparently this is the final one until it's like, well, that was end of ball season. Actually, 2018, it bleeds into 2019. But ball season 2019, the actual 2019 ball season starts in March, right around the corner.
Right, exactly. So it was, the theme was, actually, I have to say, no disrespect to my other students that had the previous two balls, but I think this one had the coolest theme. This
Okay.
one was like post-apocalypse Mad Max type theme.
All right.
And
Was there a lot
so-
of leather being worn?
So for all of these balls, like I told you, the students go all out. They organize everything, right? Like I said, some of them do hire choreographers. Also, they hire a company to make a short film or like a trailer or a teaser of the ball.
Christ.
Yeah, dude, they go all out.
Every time you add some new element to how much they're paying for these things.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
now they're hiring videographers to make videos for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have a videographer. They usually have a live band. They
Oh, my
have
gosh.
moderators. And this one, they had 2 moderators, and they were the best moderators that I've seen in all 5 of the balls I visited because they were entertaining, they were funny, and both of them could beatbox, and the other one could sing really well.
Man,
so the one
you
guy
gotta
would
pay extra for that.
beatbox. Right. And what was funny was at the beginning of the ball, they said that the moderator said, whenever you walk across the dance floor, if we start beatboxing, you have to dance. One of my colleagues translated it for me.
Right.
And so they did get a
How
couple
do you say
like older
beatbox in
people.
Czech?
I have no idea.
Beatbox.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I'm assuming that's probably how they say it. But yeah, and so the moderators were fantastic. The theme was really cool. It was great. And once again, every time I would go to these balls, the second question students would ask. The first one was always, "How do you like it? Are you enjoying yourself? Or are you satisfied?" Czechs really like to ask the question, "Are you satisfied?"
Well, I mean, it makes sense if they plan the thing, and
Right.
you're the American especially.
Right.
But also, it does. I feel like it could get to a point where it's like, all right, relax. It's like now you're starting to feel a little insecure.
Right.
Have confidence in yourself.
But so they
This
asked
is a
me
good
that.
party, isn't it? That's what you should say.
Right.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That's right. And it was a fantastic party. But the second question they asked me is, are you going to the after party tonight as well? And of course, I'm not always so great at saying no. So as usual, Jared, I went to the after party.
Parada.
And once again, I was there until 5 a.m., 5 a.m.
Slipping on gator piss. That's crazy. 5 a.m.?
I'm getting too old for this, man. I loved it, but I'm glad this was the last one because I hope I don't have to be out until 5 a.m. for a while now.
I did notice you on Instagram, and it was like 2-something. And I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? What's Chad up to? This is never a good sign.
Right.
not that you're doing anything terrible.
I think one of my students wrote me or something.
Probably having a good night.
Right, because they message a lot on Instagram here in the Czech Republic.
So 5 a.m. Did you actually stay at the club until that time?
Yep.
Are you going to put me through this garbage? I mean, are we going to do this while I'm
lucky? You're lucky because there are no more balls in Chomutov. So at least in Chomutov, you're good.
Actually, I would have liked to go to a ball. After all these I've heard about, I would have probably enjoyed that just to witness it.
Yeah, it's a great experience, no doubt.
And it seems like I'd be a celebrity. Right.
Well, the thing about Berlin is, there are places in Berlin that you can literally stay out until 9 a.m. Like I know a couple people from Berlin that they jokingly will say, we go out at 2 or 3, stay out till 9, eat breakfast at like 10, and then go to sleep, and then do it all over again on Saturday.
There's that famous place that's open from like
Berghain.
Thursday. Is that what it's called? From like
Berghain,
Thursday
yeah.
to like Sunday, like 24
it's like
hours or
straight
whatever.
through. Yeah,
or to
I think
Monday
so.
or whatever it is, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And like apparently like the losers or whatever go at like midnight or 1 in the morning, and that and also that they tend to not like having tourists there, so in line you have to like obviously you have to like look weird to stand out.
Yeah.
And not speaking a lot of English. Have you been there before?
No.
Have you tried to?
No, because when I was going to go, we found out that the line was about 3 hours.
Ooh.
We were only in Berlin for a couple of days, so 3 hours is a big chunk of time to wait in line.
It's a good fraction of your trip right there.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Berlin is amazing. It's great if you're into clubs and clubbing, but like I feel like you and I are more the type where we're happy to just go to a bar, or if it's warm enough, hit up. I know a couple good beer gardens in Berlin.
That would be cool.
If the weather's nice, we could hit up a beer garden.
Well, that's the thing.
Relax.
If you were a clubber or a partier like that, then I think it would be worth it to wait in that line, because that's like from what I've heard,
that's like the mecca of
clubbing.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I could understand that. But so this ball you'd say was one of your personal favorites?
Yeah. Well,
did you go solo? I always ask you this, but
I did. I like going to these things solo because I know so many. My students are all there. My colleagues are there from school. So there's really no social anxiety going in there because I know I'm going to know lots of people.
And you'd feel kind of a necessity to not entertain, but like stick with the person that you brought that doesn't know anyone.
Exactly. And the other thing is too, to be honest, man, I was so exhausted on Friday that I was kind of like, because I came back home to change because my apartment is right in between the theater and the club. And so I always come home, change out of my suit because I'm not trying to spill drinks on my suit. It's the only suit I've got here.
Right.
I don't want to have to.
You're only four-tied Chad. Nah.
That's right. That's right. And so, so I came home and I thought about it and I was like, oh man, it's already like 1:30 or 2. Maybe I'll just go to sleep. And I was like, you know what? No. Suck it up. You told your students you were going to be there.
Many fregista.
It meant a lot to them that, I came, just to say hi and what's up.
That's very nice of you.
And what was really funny though, and I might have mentioned this on the last episode, but I guess it just rings even truer, that the students that rarely talked in my English classes, once you give them a couple drinks, they are super talkative in English. They don't care about making mistakes. And like I got to know some students from my classes that, I don't think it was they didn't participate because they didn't want to. I think they were just shy and were maybe a little bit self-conscious about their English in comparison to their classmates, right? Because if you have some classmates who are really good obviously, if you're not as good as them, you might feel self-conscious.
That was me in French class when I lived in Germany.
There you go. So
I was in the advanced class, and the whole time I was like, I shouldn't be here.
so you know exactly where the students are coming from, and so it was really nice. Like I got to know a couple of my students. The sad thing is though, these balls were all for the last year, the fourth year classes, and I'm not teaching them this semester, and I feel kind of bad because I feel like I wish they would have had these balls at the beginning of the year. And I would have known everybody.
People, yeah.
Exactly.
Go to class the next day. You're like, hey, ho.
Right. Exactly.
How's it going, guys? You're like, babo.
That's right.
Because then you'd be like, but it's totally that. Yeah, but it is totally that. It's like now you're going to be like super friendly with them because those sort of situations do accelerate like friendliness and it puts down that barrier earlier to then where later unless you embarrass yourself, then later you're like.
Right.
This is, we know each other.
What's really funny, this will be the last thing that I have to share about the ball, unless there's more you want to know, Jared, but the last thing that was kind of funny was last week, one of my colleagues asked her class, which had the ball, was Chad drunk? First of all, was Chad at the after party, and was Chad drunk? And I love that half the class was like, no, he wasn't really drunk, and the other half was like, yeah, he was drunk. So it's like funny to see. I mean... I was tipsy.
They both were. Depends on when they were talking to you.
That's true. I mean, the thing is, though, when I go out with my students, I try to be really careful. But the other thing is, I think my students enjoy the challenge of trying to get me drunk. So, like, I think I literally bought 2 drinks of my own
oh my God.
On Friday. That was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was it.
Are you like this? Every time you put that giant box up to your face, I laugh. If you want to see Chad's juice or milk box, watch us on YouTube. Untranslated
Paid and sponsored by Ice Cafe. Like, no.
Are you like this with your students, even with your college students in the U.S.?
No, never.
It's interesting how the dynamic is so different. And yet, I hate it when people say "and yet" because you don't need to use both of them. Yet, they're not theoretically they are older. Like the college ones in America are older. Is it just because that whole is there more of a stigma to the alcohol partying thing?
Well, here's the thing. In the States, I would go and get a beer with my students. I didn't do that, but if my students if they would have asked,
you would.
I would have.
But no one asked you.
But I wouldn't go like clubbing with my students. But it's funny. I took a group of students from MSU to Germany a few years ago, and when we were in Berlin, it was awesome. We went to this club, and I went. My colleague went. My friend Carly. Carly went with us, and then my boss Tom, who's like in his 60s. Also came.
Okay.
So we were all there. But see, it's a different environment, right? I mean, you're on a study abroad with students. And I know this may sound stupid, and maybe you won't believe it, maybe our listeners won't believe it, but a lot of times I would go to the bar, not to drink, but to really make sure that the students were all right. Because all it takes is one bad mistake, and then I'm going to get a call.
Slipping on gator piss.
I'm going to get a call, or my boss will get a call. And, so-and-so's in the hospital because they drank too much, or they got in a fight, or whatever.
Right.
So it was always funny. That was kind of the running joke with the study abroad group that I took the one year, was they'd always say, oh, do you want to go to the bar with us? And I'd always be like, no, I'm probably not going to. And then I'd always show up there.
Oh, you'd show up later? You're like, is everyone okay? You really are a nurturer.
I try.
You're going to make a great parent.
One day. Not right now, though. That's for sure. But yeah. So speaking of Berlin, and I think we said this on the air, but when Jared comes in Berlin, we're going to only be speaking
German.
Berlin.
Not comes in Berlin.
When you arrive in Berlin.
Okay.
When you arrive in Berlin, we will only be speaking German.
That's true.
And so you have, first of all, what have you been doing to prepare for it?
Yeah, so what I first wanted to do was I mentioned that I wanted to find that radio show, TV show. I don't know if it's a radio show or a TV show I call it a podcast because it's anything that's not on the actual television to me, and is someone talking for longer than 5 minutes is now a podcast.
It's a podcast. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
But I think this was before the time of podcasts were really a big thing. But anyway, that's not the point. I found the show by I hit up that guy that I was telling you about, and he sent it to me, and I sent it to you. His name is James Domian, I believe.
I think so. Yeah,
I believe.
I
said it with a weird accent. I believe, and I haven't watched any of them yet. But when I asked him for the show, and I mentioned to him that I was going to, hey. I'm trying to brush up on my German, and I was trying to remember what that show was because I enjoyed listening to it, and I lost it a long time ago. And so he gave it to me, and he also actually said he'd give me some Berlin recommendations. He's like, "What's your email?"
Oh, sweet.
Granted, he hasn't sent me anything, so I don't know what that's all about. But he's got time. Listen,
I'd like to hear what his recommendations are.
His brother lives in Berlin, and his brother's a musician.
Oh, sweet.
So I wonder if he knows any spots.
Oh, I bet you he does. Speaking of which, I need to write my buddy Krishna because he's also spent time in Germany and knows a lot of great spots.
So he said he's going to give me spots, so we'll see if he does, but that's not the point. He also mentioned that we have a theater here in Philadelphia that plays called Landmark Ritz, and they play foreign movies from various countries. And one of them that they were highlighting is a movie called Never Look Away. And now that I'm curious, I want to know what Never Look Away is called in German.
Nie wegschauen? Nie wegsehen?
Well, I mean, that's literally how you say it, but I'm just curious how, what it's...
it's translated?
Yeah.
Right, because that's always interesting with movie titles, how they translate them.
Oh, see, it's completely different. It's Werk ohne Autor, which is kind of a different theme of the...
Work without an author?
Yes, which is kind of a different major... Like, both of those, Never Looking Away and Work Without an Author are sort of two major themes of it, because I'll get to why. You'll understand why in a second.
Okay, cool.
So this movie was directed by the same person that directed... What was that movie with... remember that movie that took place with the spy, for the East German spy that would just listen in on people? And he was
Das
kind of
Leben der Anderen.
Yeah.
The Lives of Others. I love that movie.
Same director. And, I wonder, when I first got in there, I got perfect timing. I got in 5 minutes after, the displayed start time. Perfect. No one was really in there. There were, 6 other people in there. But, anyway, first commercial, guess what the commercial was? Just guess. Just take a guess what the first commercial was.
Commercial. Is it German related?
Yeah, this is a German movie.
So, I don't know, Fly to Berlin.
No, it was a super intense Anne Frank-esque Nazi commercial called The Invisibles.
Okay. Interesting.
And my first thought was, I wonder if Germans are sick of all these popular German movies being Nazi based, kind of like black people are sick of all these slave movies being the popular black movies that everyone loves,
right,
or these quote unquote white savior movies where it's one white dude in a terrible racist time that's oh no, these are people.
Right.
And I was just like, Germans have to be sick of all these Nazi movies.
They are. I'm sure.
And so the Nazi movie I was watching is called Never Look Away. I didn't realize this was a Nazi movie, by the way, until I started watching it. And I was like, holy shit. This movie started off so intense. So the movie started off with a little boy, by the way, wearing the cutest children's lederhosen shorts. Hilarious.
Nice. Okay. Nice.
Anyway, so it was him and his aunt, who was, maybe in her, early 20s. So, she's an aunt, but she's a child, essentially.
Right. Okay.
And so she's taking him to an art gallery, and she's saying that she's trying to cultivate his art skills because she's saying he's a talented artist, and so it's kind of cute, And then on the way home, there's a scene of him walking down the stairs and her playing piano, and it goes down to her playing piano naked, and telling him
Okay.
not to look away and telling him that everything's beautiful, and then she stands up and she starts like hitting something over her head till she's bleeding. They're essentially alluding
Dear
to
Lord.
it was really creepy. I was like, this was like the first 10 minutes, and I was like, what kind of effing movie is this that Ben's telling me about? It's like, first of all, this movie started at 8 o'clock, so it was late, and I was like, I'm about to be terrified for 3 hours. It's a 3-hour movie
sleep.
also. And so so it turns out she was schizophrenic, and this was, by the way, during this was in the 30s.
Okay.
No,
Not
this was in the 40s.
Not
This
a
was in the
great time to
40s.
be in Germany.
So she was schizophrenic, and so her parents, or excuse me, her sister walked, and the kid's parents, which is her sister, and her brother-in-law, walked in on this scene of her hitting her like naked, hitting herself in the head till she's bleeding, and the kid just
that's
standing
crazy.
there. And so she got taken away, and because she to what do you call it, to like a where they take like a sanitarium or whatever they call it, like where they take a
psych ward.
People with mental issues.
Yeah, like a psych ward, right?
Yeah, and so then there was they determined that there was a doctor that was a Nazi in charge of this hospital, and he was in charge of determining whether or not someone's mental condition was worth them living or not, essentially. So
Okay.
she was deemed too
Jesus.
crazy to live, so she was
Okay.
sent to the chamber, and there was no sort of illusion. By the way, spoiler alert, I'm just going to spoil it, and then you guys are going to watch this movie, and so just watch the movie. You can still enjoy it if you want to watch it.
Can you enjoy it? Is it enjoyable?
Yeah, it's a good movie. It just starts off really intense.
Okay, fair enough.
So there was no sort of alluding to going to a gas chamber. There was no sort of like, oh, what happened to the aunt. The family shows up at the
Psych
hospital.
ward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the psych ward. They asked the nurse, where's our family member? They say, oh, she got transferred. They ask why. She says, that's all I can say. Cut to her going to a gas chamber, in a room, getting naked, surrounded by other women. Some of them have, for example, Down syndrome. Some of them, for example, are, you have some sort of, they clearly have some sort of mental problem or whatever.
Right.
They're all stripping down in this room, walking them into a gas chamber, turning it on. You watch them all fall. You're watching all of this. It was so intense. You're just literally watching these people in a gas chamber be murdered because they have some sort of mental issue. It was sick. I was like,
That's
holy
crazy.
shit. So that all happened. And then after that, cuts a couple years later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, to sort of the heart of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the little kid's a little bit older, and he's in the field with his mom and dad, literally outside of his city. I believe he was in, I don't know what city they were in at the time. Some German city, obviously. But essentially watching it get bombed.
Okay.
And just watching their hometown get destroyed. So that was depressing as well. And then, he grows up, and he's still an artist, and he's still like he's a very emotional child. He's clearly got not like he's not got like schizophrenic issues, but he's like emotional in the sense that he's just very emotional.
He's sensitive.
And depressive almost. And he's an artist, and he's trying to sort of he's struggling to decide what to do because he this is post the war, and he's just helping his parents. His dad can't find a job, and his dad is struggling to find a job because even though the whole time when he had to be a Nazi, but he like hated the Nazis, and they made it clear in the movie that he hated it, but he couldn't get a job after the war because he had they asked him, were you in the Nazis? He's like, well, and he's like, were you or weren't? She's like, yeah, but most teachers were, 75%. And so he couldn't get a job.
Okay.
And it was and he was all sad, and the dad ended up killing himself. And so we saw the dad kill himself, and the dad hung himself in the attic, and that was intense. And then so the kid went to art school. The kid got sponsored to go to art school by one of his employers, and he became a very good artist, and he painted murals, and he lived in East Berlin at the time.
Okay.
And he painted murals, and he was a great painter. And he met a girl. Obviously, that's how all these movies go. He met a girl, and he fell in love with her. And this relationship was really weird because this girl reminded him very much of his aunt, and she looked very similar, like disturbingly similar. It was almost like the brunette version. Turns out, the father of the of that aunt, of that girlfriend, confusing me, was the doctor / dad was the doctor of the euthanasia doctor from the Nazis. He was a slimy little mofo. Where now he was like super like super socialism, super towards like the
sure,
and he just fully switched over. And it kind of also showed it was interesting, sort of how it showed how like the working class couldn't get jobs after because of the Nazi Party, but this guy so perfectly blended in because what he did was he saved. He was in jail for being a Nazi by the Russians because he was in East Berlin, and then he saved one of the high up
communist officials.
Yeah, one
soldiers.
of his wife's kids. Like he gave birth to the kid because the doctor the kid almost died and the guy saved it. Long story, but it doesn't matter. And so. And so he was like kind of protected by this guy, and so he was living a nice life. And then so it was just this weird story of this guy trying to survive with his girlfriend, not really aware of this about the guy, but like knowing that but still hating the guy and just trying to figure himself out through his art. And so it was a great movie. It was just like. And the relationship, obviously, there was issues with there's a whole story.
No, wait a minute.
Longer story.
I have a question. So does that mean that the doctor slept with his aunt and they had a child? Is that what you're alluding to?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think that happened. I just think that they just I don't know why. I guess that's a good question. How is it that guy's daughter ended up being the one that reminded and it's actually an interesting kind of story behind that because when the girl found out, the girl was in his doctor's office when she was still alive, and the aunt, and she found out that she was going to be euthanized because she had schizophrenia. And so she was pleading for her life, and she was like and she knew that the guy had a daughter because there was like a little painting that her daughter made in his office, and she's like, yeah, you have a daughter. It's like your daughter's gonna grow up, and I probably remind you of your daughter. And she was like, it was kind of creepy because she was like calling him dad and saying like, please, dad, don't kill me. And so it was just very interesting that it then turned out that that's how it ended up. But he was struggling, and so the dad was so she hated her dad though. She didn't like him, and the dad actually they got pregnant and like early on, and the dad aborted it, aborted his daughter's child, and then the daughter couldn't have a baby till way later. And it was just a super intense movie. It wasn't as intense as it was in the beginning, where the dad died actually kind of later, but it wasn't as intense as it was in the beginning, like 15 minutes, where like you found out like that whole scene where the found out that the aunt's crazy was kind of disturbing, and then the scene where the city was just bombed was kind of disturbing. And then the scene like where the girl was being taken away, like all that was just disturbing. But it was too long. Like a good hour could have been cut out of it. It was 3 hours long. I left that movie theater at 11:15 on a Wednesday p.m. because I couldn't because the whole snow thing messed up my schedule. I was going to see it earlier, but I couldn't. But it was just too long. But I did like it. I did think it was good. Here's a couple takeaways I have from this movie.
Okay, let's hear it.
One, I've lived in Germany before, but I've lived in America for longer, and it's been a while since I've been back in Europe. Forget how liberal, like how much more free the Europeans are with sex than Americans are. There were a lot of sex
nudity
scenes
as well.
A lot of nudity. Listen, this is a family podcast. It was almost disturbing how how similar these two women were, even like in their like disturbingly perky boobs. And like they
Interesting,
had like
okay.
these weirdly like almost like weirdly revealing, not revealing, but it was just weird how similar they were. But a lot of nudity.
Same actress?
I don't think so.
Okay.
A lot of nudity, a lot of sex. You know, it was about art, so a lot of painting of nudity. Another thing I found interesting was how casually Heil Hitler was thrown around back then. It was. I didn't realize it was like used as like
It's like a salutation.
like aloha almost. Like it
I
was
don't think
used
our
for.
Hawaiian listeners will appreciate that one. I mean, yeah,
I'm sorry.
It was.
It was used for
it was very
everything.
casual. Yeah.
What kind of power do you have to have for your name to just be thrown around like a what's up?
Right.
I don't think I realized the power he had. It was so funny. I was actually just listening to a podcast yesterday, and they do it like a comedic sort of history podcast, and they're comedians, and they're like, you know, say what you want about Hitler, but one thing you can't deny about him, he could move some tickets.
I mean, they're right. They're right. When you also don't show up to his rallies and you disappear in the night, I think that also gives some motivation
where there are officers walking through the street, knocking on doors, making sure everyone's there. That's a good point. But
Right.
I was just so weird to see like how like you know, they're in a doctor's office, for example, and like the doctor would be like, oh, by the way, it's so weird saying it over and over again. I don't want someone to pull this out when I'm trying to get a job 10 years from now.
Just don't say it.
Hey, HH.
Right. Yeah. It's
and
crazy.
it was just so weird how casually it was said. And I was like, I wonder, like, is that how it really was?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
I guess you weren't
I don't
there,
know. I think it probably depended on how hardcore the people were in terms of, like, if they were really truly following the ideology. You know, I think it also depends on like hierarchies, right? Like if you're somewhere and your authority figure says it, then you probably should respond with it. But so now I appreciate it. Sounds really fascinating. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a German movie for sure, just with the intensity and everything like that.
It was very intense.
I'm curious more so, as you know, Jared, we do talk a lot about language here on the Untranslatable podcast.
Yes.
So how did that go? Did
How
you
did I not
understand
bring
a
that
lot
up?
of the German?
So the movie was in German and there were English subtitles.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I was kind of disappointed. I felt disappointed in the moment. Maybe I was too much in my head about this. But I did kind of feel disappointed at how much I was looking at the subtitles.
But you do know that even if you watch a movie in English, there's something weird about subtitles that it draws your eyes to it. Even if you understand and you could, in theory, completely ignore the subtitles, the fact that they're on the screen makes you look at it.
Like on a subconscious level, I'm doing myself a disservice by not fully like I feel like I might be missing something by not reading them. It's like, well, I still want to understand this movie or whatever.
Sure.
Make sure I understood. Like even sometimes I felt like I did it like to validate what I had just heard.
Sure.
But it was kind of a thing that you're doing in a split second because, you know, you're listening, then you have to, you know, you don't have much time to be like, let me think if I understood that.
Right.
Because then obviously then it's gone. But I enjoyed he did spend a good amount of time in Dusseldorf as well.
Oh, nice.
And it was funny.
Okay.
They were he was an artist and so this whole the movie, what did I say it was called? Werk ohne Autor.
Mm-hmm.
It was this whole thing. It was this whole sort of juxtaposition of like this idea of artist needing to be like me,
Mm-hmm.
but then also removing. But then like his thing as an artist, he became popular eventually was his art was all about him. But then when he would also repeat that like ich. But then whenever he would like when he at the end when he was being interviewed by people that were actually, you know, generally curious about his art because he was famous, he would fully disconnect from it and just be like, no, I just because what he would do, what he eventually became famous for were recreatings of like old pictures and like old sort of family style pictures, and they almost look like pictures that you'd find when you buy a frame. And, you know, the pictures that just come with it, like he would do painting recreations of those, sort of dramatic sometimes or whatever. But they're all his. They're all his family. Like they were his aunt, his parents.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And all that sort of stuff. But when he was being interviewed about them, he'd just be like, "No, I just like the medium, and I just find random pictures and paint them." And it was sort of removing himself from it, even though his whole thing of like that even allowed him to reach that point was like finding a deep introspection and trying to find out who he is, because the whole thing about Dusseldorf and the art scene at that time, according to this movie, I don't know if that's true, was that they were it was very weird and just standard. He was known for being a painter, and
Right.
and that was kind of old school at the time. Whereas like you're always trying to find the newest medium, and so he was struggling to find out who he was and all that stuff.
Okay. So worth going to see.
If you have the time, yeah. As I said, it was a long movie.
Did you pick
I
up
think
any new German words?
it's hard to think about. It's hard to think about, and I'd have to think. Also, I saw it a couple days ago,
Right.
but I honestly think they could have cut out like an hour.
Right. Could be.
So, but maybe I don't know. But I did like it. I did like it.
Nice.
And I enjoy going to the movie theater. I never really go to the movie theater anymore these days. But
It is
I do
nice.
enjoy it.
Did you get some popcorn and stuff?
I didn't, but as soon as I sat down, I was like, damn, I should have got some popcorn.
But they
I
charge
sat
you an
down
arm and a
empty-handed.
leg.
That's true. But I sat down empty-handed with nothing for a 3-hour movie.
That's
It's like I'm an
dedication.
American. I can't sit down for
Right.
that long.
What
without
do I
putting
do
food
with
in
my
mouth.
hands? What do I do?
But I'll give it a let's see, 8
How
out
ma-
of 10.
8 out of 10 jarts.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
All right. Nice. Cool. Well, to all of our listeners out there that are interested in art, history, or German, check out the German title is Werk ohne Autor, and the English version is what? Never Look Away.
Yeah,
Parada.
and it feels good to. It felt good to get all that, even though I felt kind of guilty about the subtitles, even though I probably shouldn't. That's probably just me being me. It did feel good to get that 3 hours of German pumped into me.
Oh, for sure.
And there were I don't know if I specifically remember like words, but there were certain once again I can't really remember them off the top of my head, but there were phrases that I was like, oh right, that's a phrase, I can use
Right.
that, like I know
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
it's just I haven't thought of that in a while, and so that was it. I think even more than me remembering words to say, it was even more helpful with just getting used to hearing it, hearing it
for
more
sure.
than me thinking of words.
It'll take me a solid day of
Yeah.
you and I speaking German and then interacting with some Germans. I still need to write a few of my friends in Berlin and see what they're up to. But yeah, I can't wait, buddy. I'm excited to go to Berlin.
Me too.
Speak some German. Obviously, see you again. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess since I've been here,
Yeah,
so about 3.5 years, 3 years.
it's been a while.
It's too long. It's too long.
I think if we didn't do this podcast, maybe we wouldn't recognize each other.
Just walk right by each other at the in Berlin.
Right.
Chad, Jared, Chad.
Jart?
I can hear you.
Jart? Well, Jared, what do you think? Time to spread a little love?
Spread a little love. I think so. I think so.
Do you have any shout outs?
I do. My first one, I have one. My first one and my only one is not from Good Black News, but it is Good Black News. I'm sure you could find this in Good Black News. Black Girls Code, which is a nonprofit that I'll explain in a second, teams up with Lyft for a partnership after rejecting a $125,000 offer from Uber. Uber, which still seems to be doing fine, which I'm kind of surprised by. They have really lost their place as far as PR goes ever since it's for the past 2 years or so.
Didn't they have that big surge during one of the hurricanes or natural disasters?
There was one of those, and then there was also one during some sort of during the I think another one that got them in the news was during the Muslim ban. That was a thing at the beginning of Trump's presidency. At the airport where there were protests going on, they had this crazy surge pricing happening. And so I think it was just sort of taking advantage of weird situations
Right.
to extort money out of people. And so they sort of, and then after that, Lyft doubled down. I'm a proud Lyft user. And it started actually, I guess, kind of because of this, and also more because of the cars. Was kind of where it started before this. Let me clarify. Because of the
Okay.
cars, I started getting cars being like in my head, like, "You're allowed to drive this thing? Like, really, bro?"
On
like
Uber
I
or
was
Lyft?
Uber. I was in the
Okay.
Uber. The dude asked me to smoke a cigarette, and I was like, I mean, I guess, and I said yes because I'm a pushover, kind of like you. But in the back of my head, I'm like, really, bro? Like, you ballsy for even asking.
Right.
And I probably still gave him 5 stars. But anyway, actually, it's funny that I'm actually friends with that dude on Facebook.
Oh, that's funny.
We actually ended up having kind of a nice conversation.
There you go. Nice.
But what was I talking about?
Lyft.
Oh, yeah, they partner. Yeah, so Black Girls Code is a nonprofit. So after months of turning down Uber's $125,000 grant offer, Black Girls Code announced a new partnership with the ride-sharing service Lyft. On Friday, Lyft revealed that it added Black Girls Code to a list of nonprofits that benefit from its Roundup and Donate program, which allows customers to round up their fares to the nearest dollar and give extra cash to charitable causes. Since launching the program last May, Lyft riders have raised more than $4 million for organizations such as St. Jude's Children's Hospital, the Human Rights Campaign, Girls Who Code, Habitat for Humanity, and the ACLU Foundation. This is from Lyft, our partnership with Black Girls Code represents our long-term commitment to inclusivity with an organization who, for years, has done the important work of affirming, empowering young girls of color with a passion for innovation and technology. Lyft head in diversity and inclusion, Tariq Myers, said in a statement. So after what I was going to say before, well, this is great, by the way. I think that's great. I like this stuff. But after the whole problem with Uber, Lyft really doubled down on it and took advantage and sent out an email talking about how essentially saying like, listen, we don't support anything that they're doing, and we think everyone's great. We support all these causes,
Right.
and we would never do this. And they really doubled down on where the car sharing of the people. Those other ones are the car sharing of the douchebags. I'm not saying that's true, but that's what their marketing has led me, for example,
Yeah.
and others to believe.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And I
very
think,
true.
I think, good for them.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, good. Well, I have one shout out as well.
Okay.
And this headline on its own is pretty crazy. An Arizona officer threatened to arrest a 12-year-old journalist. She wasn't backing down. So my shout out today goes out to a girl named Hilda, I believe it's Lysiak, who's a preteen journalist who has her stories have inspired a Scholastic book series and an upcoming TV show. And she first made the name for herself in 2016 by being the first to report on a grisly murder in her hometown.
How was she the first to report on a
I
grisly
have no
murder,
idea.
period?
This is
How did that happen?
according. I don't know.
I mean, that's awesome.
But
But
so
how did that happen?
I have no idea. I mean, this story doesn't tell me how. Doesn't give me all those details. But
Props.
right here, the gentleman, his name was Joseph Patterson, who's the town marshal in Patagonia, Arizona. He threatened to throw her in juvie because he falsely claimed it would be illegal for her to film him and publish the video on the internet. Instead, what she did, this very brave, courageous girl, posted their exchange on YouTube and in the Orange Street News, which then later prompted town officials to actually discipline Patterson.
Yeah, he should be ashamed of himself.
Right. You shouldn't be threatening 12-year-olds. Exactly. But
I mean, that also just highlights how shady or whatever you're doing is. If you're afraid of a 12-year-old
filming you,
videotaping
exactly.
you, what are you doing?
Right. Exactly. So what's interesting though is she ran into him twice. So right here, In the Orange Street News, Lisiak wrote that she was riding her bike to invest. Also, dude, I have no idea how she gets these tips. But right here
Stay
it says...
safe in these streets, by the way.
Right?
This sounds so dangerous.
But so here it says, according to the Orange Street News, Lisiak wrote that she was riding her bike to investigate a tip around 1:30 p.m. on Monday.
Tip!
I know. When Patterson, whose position in the small town is equivalent to that of a police chief, stopped her and asked her for ID,
Oh, man.
she gave her name and phone number and mentioned she was a member of the media. She said Patterson told her, "I don't want to hear about any of that freedom of the press stuff," and added he would have her arrested and thrown in juvenile jail. Later, Lisiak ran into Patterson again. This time, she was filming, and she can be heard saying in the video, "You stopped me earlier, and you said that I can be thrown in juvie. What exactly am I doing that's illegal?" From the seat of his white
Where are
Chevy
her parents?
Silverado truck, well, her dad's also a journalist. Patterson started to reply, then interrupted himself. "You taping me?" he asked. "You can tape me, okay? But what I'm going to tell you is if you put my face on the internet, it's against the law in Arizona." And right here, there is no such law. Recording a law enforcement officer in a public place is protected under the First Amendment, as Lisiak noted when she posted the video later that day. So there
Damn.
you go. So big shout out to you, Hilda Lisiak, for standing your ground and not being afraid of being bullied by an adult. So there you go.
Careful. I mean, she's going to get caught up with someone else standing around on her. She might get murked in these streets.
Let's hope
This
not.
sounds so dangerous to me. Like, at first I thought it was cool, and I was like, you need to be careful.
Right. Well, I'm sure. I mean, her dad's a journalist. I'm sure. She seems like
I
a really
guess.
intelligent girl, so I'm sure she'll
Well,
be
no,
fine.
she seems very intelligent, which almost seems like the problem. Where it's like the same dude that's threatening a child's probably going to
Yeah, let's not go there. We're here to spread the love.
all right.
But do you happen to
Speaking
know
of,
what time it is?
I do. It is time for the Untranslatables,
Yes,
the
sir.
namesake of the Untranslatable podcast, obviously.
So, all right, if I get us started today.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have a Spanish one. I have Czech ones, don't you worry. But I want to start with the Spanish one.
Parada.
So my Spanish one is no tener dos dedos de frente, which means not having two fingers of forehead.
Is that like not having your head screwed on straight? Like
Pretty much. Well, it's kind of like, how would you describe someone that doesn't have their head screwed on straight? Like, is that
Sort
like
of-
a crazy person?
Nah, I mean it could be. I guess that's not really what I was thinking, but it could be.
So what are
I
you
was
thinking?
thinking more like an absent-minded sort of person.
Okay, yeah, you're close. You're close. It means like he or she is not smart.
Oh, okay. All right, I gotcha. What's the English translation again?
Not having two fingers of forehead.
Oh, okay.
So you're
How many
missing
fingers
half
of
your
forehead
forehead,
do you
I
want?
guess.
Do you have a? Oh,
Gotta
okay.
have four, right? Isn't
Oh,
it four?
I get it. Interesting.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Because people also in America make fun of people
With a big
with
forehead?
big forehead, saying they have like a 5 head or
Or a
eight
six
head.
head?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess you could use any number bigger than 4.
Mm-hmm.
My first one's Bulgarian. It's Prismial se kurbel na stulbel. And it another language is a very interesting alphabet. Literally, it translates to the skinny guy laughed at the guy without teeth. Jeez.
Can you guy laugh to the guy without teeth?
Speaking of words that are hard to pronounce, I just said teeth.
Teeth. Skinny guy
My
laugh
teeth
at the guy
is-
with no teeth. I mean, this is probably like you're laughing at somebody when they could also be laughing at you. Like right? I mean, it's
Yeah, just means don't mock other people.
right.
But I'm gonna take a objection to that. How is it that we're comparing a skinny person to someone without teeth?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's true.
how are those comparisons?
I mean, depending on how skinny you look, I mean, both of them might be kind of goofy looking. Maybe.
I understand a skinny person can be goofy looking, but if I had to take a choice, I'm choosing skinny with teeth all day.
That's fair. That's fair. I agree.
If there was a would you rather be weirdly skinny with teeth or in shape, ripped with teeth, without teeth.
Now, can I get dentures? Or am I stuck toothless? Because otherwise, I'm going ripped, no teeth, and I'm going to get them teeth later.
Okay. I think that's stupid. I'm going to go skinny with teeth and actually just work out to get ripped.
There you go. Fair enough. Fair enough.
But there, everyone now knows Chad's a corner cutter. It's funny. Oh, it's your turn.
Work smarter, not harder, Jared. All right, my last one for you today is check. And it is, oh geez, this is going to be a tough one. Rozhovor mezi čtyřma očima. A dialogue between four eyes.
A dialogue between four eyes. Is that like two's a crowd, three's a party?
Not really, no.
Although
I agree with that statement, but that's not what this is.
I have no idea.
So for example, Jared, maybe we have some very important, secret, untranslatable podcast business to discuss, and I would say, Jared, let's have a dialogue between four eyes after we're done recording.
Oh, I like that. Just you and I. It's just like a private conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, when you want to discuss something in private. Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? A dialogue between four eyes. Exactly.
Yeah. Or as we would say in America, this is an A and B conversation, so please
see your way out. That's right.
I have one more. It's actually Spanish as well, from Argentina. Is that how they say it? By the way, Messi recently got his 50th hat trick.
Oh, nice.
And in the what is it called? La Liga? Is that
La
what
Liga?
The Spanish
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ligas. So this is Spanish from Argentina, and it is estar al pedo or estar en pedo. They're two different ones. You'll see why. Do you know what that means?
Pedo or perro?
Pedo with a D. Pedo.
I don't know what that means.
Fart is what that means.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it's you are a fart or estar?
Yeah, to be the fart, and estar en pedo.
To be in the fart?
There you go.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it like you're the shit and you're shit? Is it like that?
No. So the first one, we'll start with the first one. To be the fart.
Uh-huh. I have no idea. I
mean, okay. It means you're not doing anything.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. And the other one?
Just around, just hanging around.
All right. You're just farting around.
To be in fart. Think about you at 5 a.m. outside of a club. Some people might have said that you were in fart.
Does that mean you're like drunk?
Well, yeah, there you go.
Parada. Okay. Interesting. I'm having flashbacks of my weekend. Interesting. Okay.
I just like the usage of fart.
I do too. That's really great. That is really great.
Because I'm a child.
That might be a fun episode, dude. In the future, different cultures and countries like phrases and sayings about different bodily functions
and opinions. Yeah, right. And opinions on
that
them.
Would be a fun one.
People do claim that it's like a compliment to burp or fart at some dinner tables.
I think in Japan, right?
That's what I've heard.
Right.
That is what I've heard.
And I've also heard.
I'm not a big farter. Publicly, at least.
I mean, I definitely don't try to be. That's for sure. In I believe it's in South Korea. It's customary to like slurp your soup as well.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense though. I mean, because I think that's the same in most noodle-eating countries,
right?
Because it's just like the very nature of the noodle almost requires that. The
nature of the noodle. I like it.
That'll be the name of that episode. You've really locked yourself into a corner when you give yourself this odd-shaped spoon and two sticks to eat soup. You know,
right? Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I can't cut it. What here's how am I can't.
It's
swirl
impressive
it
though to watch someone with chopsticks
they can't swirl it.
Eat. It's really impressive.
Oh,
to
it
me.
Is
watching them like eat rice, and it's crazy.
Dude, I love ramen. and I'm terrible with chopstick, and I've chopsticks, and like I can do it, but it's almost more like a panic moment,
Okay.
and then like I always end with like extreme. Like I felt like I did like a serious. I mean, I did do it. That's why it always feels like a serious hand workout. Like it never feels natural.
Right.
I never put down.
Yeah,
the,
for me either.
Like
yeah, I can't put
like
them
I'm
down
almost
either.
Near cramping.
Right. That's for sure. That's true. Anyways, we'll talk about this stuff. I'm sure we can find another episode for that as well. But I think we should move on to some language mistakes. And you know what, Jared? I want to start off with some funny German ones because I
Okay.
want to help you and I both avoid these blunders when we're in Germany. So, and these are all taken from actually a website
Blunders.
called Prepare to Serve. And there's a bunch of them. And I'm just going
Is
to
that
try
like
to
for military?
pick the. I don't think so. I think it's actually a missionary website.
You find the weirdest websites.
I
by
know,
the way.
right? So here,
I never trust your sources.
right?
From meme news to Dinesh D'Souza to
That's true. That's true. So here
missionary
we go though.
websites.
This is a funny story. So we were knocking. So I'm assuming these were Jehovah's Witnesses. We were knocking on doors, and this lady opens the door just a few inches, and I thought she said she was moving. So excitedly, I replied in German, "Great, can we help?" She instantly slammed the door, and my senior companion busted out laughing. Turns out she said she was changing her clothes, not moving. So here in German, the difference is sich umziehen, which
yeah.
means to change your clothes, and umziehen, which means to move.
Oh, that's tough. That would mess
Right?
me up.
Right? Yeah, that
That's
could
good
be
to
really
know, actually.
awkward, right? Yeah.
F these missionaries. I don't even whether I'm moving or changing. I slam the door on you if your response is great. Can I help? No,
Right.
I don't know you.
Right. Here's
I mean, that's just some weird missionary shit. I'm sorry.
Here's
Go ahead,
another. Here's
continue.
another funny one.
I'm sure they're very nice people.
Asking for a pastry at the bakery with churches on top. So in German, you have Kirche, Kirche,
yes.
and Kirche,
yeah,
which they sound almost the same. Cherries and churches. So
and a lot of non-German speakers would like that are actually good German speakers say it like that. Not and just for other words too, like say the sh like that, even if it's
right,
ugh,
it's tough. Here's kind of another funny one.
Kirche.
Telling a few new missionaries to ask for a Kaiserschnitt when he meant Haarschnitt. Do you know what a Kaiserschnitt is?
Is that some sort of weird penis thing?
A Kaiserschnitt is a cesarean section.
Oh, okay.
So you go to the barber shop and ask for a cesarean section instead of a
I
haircut.
did not know that. Why is it called a Kaiser?
I have no idea. I have no idea at all whatsoever. But yeah, let's see here. This one's also kind of funny. Let me see here. So I told an 8-year-old girl that Adam and Eve were the first 2 men on Earth instead of people. So confused, I guess, Männer and Menschen.
Okay.
That would get some weird looks. That would get some weird looks.
Mention. You wouldn't say mention either. I mean, for people? I guess I just wouldn't say mention for that.
Right, Leute, maybe. But
Yeah.
So there are a couple German ones. I'm curious though, Jared, what do you have?
First of all, one thing I have is broken headphones.
Uh-oh.
Or broken headphone cord. I can fix it on the fly. We're not even going to stop. We're not even
There
going
we
to
go.
stop.
All right. Well, while you're
But,
doing that,
my
I want
headphone
to
cord
explain.
is dying on me in the moment.
So I have another Spanish one, and this one's kind of funny. So first year learning Spanish. This isn't me. This is a story I found online at SpanishDict.com. My first year learning Spanish, the hotel pool was so chlorinated, my eyes flared up terribly. I went to the pharmacy and said, "Me duelen las ojos. Tiene un medicamento, por favor?" Which sadly, this person confused ocas and hojas, which are eyes. And this person said, "My geese are killing me. Do you have a treatment, please? Or medicine, please?"
My geese are killed. Oh,
My geese instead of my eyes.
I wonder if because even though those are technically different words, I wonder if because they sound so similarly, people would understand, or they'd just be like, "That makes no sense."
I think they probably would, but they'd probably laugh.
Right, of course, because it still does sound funny.
Right.
But these are not mistakes that native speakers would make. These are mistakes that only you'd have to not know the language well enough to make these mistakes.
Right. And here's a funny one in English. There was a Spanish student from Chile, and was talking to a professor. The professor complimented on their English, and apparently this person said, "Oh, thank you. I've been here speaking English for 2 years now. I'm getting better, but I'm still having trouble with my vowels." Because V's and B's in Spanish are very similar.
That makes perfect sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there is a joke about someone not knowing, like saying bulbo, there are a bunch of words that some I probably make the mistake, but then some also annoy me when people. One thing that always bothers me is people mixing up a part and a part.
Okay.
That happens all the time.
Can you give some examples?
I'm going to be a part of an ensemble, and they put A-P-A-R-T as one word.
Part. Right.
Or it's hard being apart from my family. A space P-A-R-T. Another one.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. What about Alzheimer's?
Did you not go to a portion of your childhood thinking it was old timers?
Oh, for sure. That's true. You're right. Old timers. Yeah. Old
another
timers.
one that people mess up a lot is Arctic. It's not Arctic.
Arctic.
Yeah, Arctic. It's also surprisingly difficult for me to spell that word. Or Antarctic if you're into that thing.
Right.
An obvious one is Suppossedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I spelled that wrong, by the way.
What do people usually say?
Supposedly.
Oh, that's true.
You didn't know that? Oh my god.
Supposedly. No, you're right. Supposedly.
Yeah. How do you what do you call it? Say you're you say you're in war and people are overtaking you and you need to call in the
artillery.
Blah, blah, blah. No, starts with the C, but similar concept.
The C.
Call in the
cavalry.
Oh wow, good job.
Right? Isn't that how you say it?
Yeah, most people say cavalry.
Yeah, it's cavalry.
Cavalry.
Right, that's how it's spelled. A really bad word is colonel, the way we spell colonel.
Why is that? Can someone explain this to me? Why is that?
I have no idea. I'll Google it and see if I can find a quick answer.
I would love to know why that is spelled like that, because there is no
I'm sure it's
R
from
in
French,
colonel.
would be my guess. Yep, right here.
No,
colonel came from French and...
Damn you, French.
And colonel through Italian, like with an L, right?
Yeah,
Colonel through Italian, preserved to look of the word related to column, but colonel brought a nice regal crown to mind, though it was not actually etymologically related to crown. So it went back and forth until we settled into the spelling of L with the R pronunciation. That's why. There you go.
How is it that
English is such a weird language, man. It's really so weird.
So 2020 is coming up, and that's the year of the United States presidential election. And during the election, there are a whole bunch of presidential whats?
Candidates?
See, but now you're on the ball. So now I don't believe that you actually do. Like, yeah, obviously that's the right way to say it. But now I feel like you're just paying way more attention because of these circumstances. Because many people do say candidate.
Is it candidates? Is that right?
Yeah, it's candidate. Candidate,
not candidate.
Candidate.
Okay.
Well, not candidate, but candidate.
I've said
it too many times.
I'm so confused. What other words do you have?
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
I mean, one mistake that you've mentioned before is the lay versus lie. And most native speakers get that wrong.
And yeah, and ever since I brought that up a couple times, and it still happens in between those times that I've brought it up. I don't have the balls to be the one person saying lie like a douche.
Right.
I can't do it.
Tony, why are you saying it like that?
Yeah. Hey, why don't you go lay down? Yeah, maybe it would be nice to lie down. What was that about? What do you mean? I just want to lie down. That's what I said. Go lay down. Yeah. I just prefer not to say it the wrong way. And so sometimes, like a lot of times, I'll just purposely say it wrong, and I every time I feel some sort of way because I can't be that guy correcting people's English. Right. I can't do it.
So, Jared, would you say you're a prescriptivist or descriptivist?
I don't know what the difference is. I've never heard those before.
So, a prescriptivist would be the person that says lie down. Descriptivist would say lay down. But basically, if you're a prescriptivist, you are about the rules and how they're written. If you're a descriptivist, you're like, well, language is more flexible than that.
Well, I guess I do believe language is more flexible. This just seems like a weird place to take that stance. But also,
that's true.
Most people that are saying lay aren't doing it because they fancy themselves descriptivists. They're doing it because they don't know any better.
Oh,
they're
for
not
sure.
like, well, language is a flexible medium formed by culture and society. So they're just like, oh, what do you mean? That's how you say it.
Right. Yeah.
I think that would be prescribing, which is another one that people always mess up.
What do they say instead? Prescribing? Prescribing?
Which one is it, actually? I don't know which one it is. That just came to my mind. Is it prescribe or prescribe?
Do you mean like a medication is prescribed?
Is it prescription or prescription?
I mean, it's prescription, but we say prescription.
Oh, you used to work at a pharmacy, so you know how
I
to
did.
spell.
So lots of prescriptions. Yeah, and we don't say prescription. We say prescription, and I don't know why that is.
But people do say prescription all the time, right?
Yeah.
Prescription.
Yeah. Prescription. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty normal.
Okay. Well, it's pretty normal, but it's wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Prescription.
Yep.
How do you would you consider yourself, especially as a language teacher, a prescriptivist? Do you get annoyed?
Descriptivist, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're bastardizing the language?
Although now I've noticed I say whom in class once in a while.
Ugh.
I feel a little snobbish saying it, but
do you know how to use it properly? Whom and who?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, man. After you learn something like German,
right?
It's easy to kind of get a better feel for that.
Yeah, especially since with is often used with whom.
Right. With whom, for whom,
with
to
dative
whom.
is kind of the similar with it's
right. Right.
So there,
exactly.
it is kind of. Whom is another one that I wouldn't use. Do you have students ask you like the difference between who and whom, or do they even know?
They don't ask. They don't usually ask me. It's funny. My colleagues at school ask me grammar questions, but my students don't.
They just don't care?
I think, I don't think it's super important.
Okay. I mean, I agree with them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do too. You have any other words, Jared?
No, well, maybe we'll come back to that. I do have some words that are hard to pronounce in English for English speakers.
Okay, let's hear them.
One of them that surprised me, what's the powerful shell SpongeBob used?
A conch?
Yeah, I don't think
Magic
that's what it's...
conch?
I don't think that's how you say it.
How are you supposed to say it?
I think it's a conch.
Yeah, you're right. It's a conch shell.
Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, it's conch. Yeah, why do they say... But I'm pretty sure they say the magic conch on the show, don't they?
Of course they do. Yeah, they say magic conch. Magic conch shell. I don't understand, and it's not just them that say conch. Conch seems to be a pretty widely accepted term, but it's conch.
Right. Yeah, conch shell. I wonder if it's because conch shell, conch shell.
Maybe.
You say it quick.
I see what you're saying. That the
you know what I mean?
sh from the shell sort of forms the conch.
Maybe
shell.
That's why.
Conch
Maybe
shell?
that's why. And they thought it wasn't conch, but conch shell.
That
I don't know.
I've heard of conch. It's a southern, like a Miami Cuban food.
Okay.
So I've heard of it in that sense, but I didn't connect that That's actually how you say conch shell, or excuse me, conch shell. It's really throwing me off because I did not know that. So this one is one similar to something I've questioned you about. What do you call like a supreme leader that is almost godlike? Starts with for example, Thor. People called Thor this.
A god, a deity?
No, a
Demigod?
Well, yeah, but it's a different word for that. Is that what Thor is? I think you're right.
Demagogue?
There we go. Ooh,
Demagogue. Okay.
Slipping on gator piss. It's actually demagogue, not demagogue. You fell into my trap.
Okay. Demagogue. Yeah, you're right. It's not demagogue. It's demagogue. I don't know why I said demagogue. Weird. But isn't it spelled Demagogue?
Spell it again? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's Dema. Now I'm going to double check.
No, just spell it first. Spell it, and I'll tell you.
Yeah. It's Demagogue.
Mm-hmm. Pronounced demagogue.
Demagogue.
Click on
right.
Just click on it.
I see it. This one's British. They say demagogue.
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 Well, don't listen to them. Let me think. There's a bunch of them I'm looking at, but I'm trying to think of a good one.
Most Americans, the way we say vegetable and comfortable, we get rid of those syllables. We won't say comfortable. We don't say vegetable.
Vegetable, yeah. I feel like Southern people say vegetable. Vegetable. Oh, I just said it the wrong way. Maybe not.
That's just a normal part of speaking English is we like to get rid of syllables if we can because it makes it quicker. Comfortable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Conch shell.
Right, exactly.
That's all I got.
All right, so I want to share a couple funny ones that are also English language learners. So right here, a student told their teacher, these are from teachers, englishforums.com is where I got this. So it's not meme news, everybody. So here we go. A student said, I always ate lunch at school, but every day my mother made me suffer.
I always ate lunch at school.
But every day my mother made me suffer.
So my goal here is to try to decipher this.
Yeah. What word do they mean? But every day my mother made me suffer.
Oh, supper.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's your first mistake, using the word supper.
Right. But yeah.
What is this?
I feel like that's a word my parents would use. My bed has 3 blankets and a large gilt my parents gave me. Sorry, I caught you at a bad time there. Yep, quilt. Good.
That one makes perfect sense.
Yeah. My father met us at the airport and gave me a big hog. Then he hogged my wife.
That sounds like a good time.
Oh, man. Would you be okay with your father hogging your wife, Jared?
I don't hear anything wrong with that sentence. I assume they're meaning hug.
Yep. Wouldn't it also, though, be pork and not hog? Could you say you hogged? Could you say that?
No, but you also wouldn't say, who's saying, you're sticking to the pig theme. I was about to say, who's really using pork as people say that, but right. At first I thought you meant pork for both of them. So she porked me, then gave my mom a pork or whatever.
Right.
And that wouldn't really make any sense.
No.
Porking is a terrible word that I feel like no one should use for having sex.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. It seems childish.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. So here you go. This is a sports-related one. When we won, I was so exciting I had goose pimps all over my body.
Goose pimps. That's actually, but that's a British, British people say goose pimples.
Right.
When we say goose bumps.
Right.
I had goose pimples all over me body. Sorry, everyone. We actually do have listeners in England, and now we no longer do.
Right.
So I'm sorry to the listeners and Chad.
And then the last one that I have is actually a French one. I'm not going to say the French because I wouldn't pronounce it right. But this person
spell it
apparently,
for me. I'll say it.
This person essentially was studying abroad in Paris, lived with the host family, and she meant to say, "I'm so excited to meet all of you," But Jared, do you think you know what she accidentally said?
I'm so excited. Exsexted?
I'm so horny to meet all of you.
That's hilarious. What's the French word for horny?
Isn't it like I don't have it in front of me. It's like it looks like excite.
Oh, okay.
Looks like excite. But yeah. All right, and last up for this segment, I sent Jared this link as well. And these are just some funny times when people had brain farts. We mentioned earlier that we were going to talk about brain farts. And the cool thing about we all. The cool thing about language, though, is the fact that you can, if you forget a word, you use other words to describe it, right? So right here, this is from @Wesley Mullen. And one of my cleverest and most fabulous friends at university, now PhD in neuroscience, once forgot the word for what she wanted in a restaurant and tried to explain it with like a really, really wet salad. Soup, she wanted soup.
A wet salad. How is that a good explainer?
How else would you describe soup without the word soup?
Where was this person from?
It doesn't say.
Okay, because I would reference the local style soup of yours. For example,
Right.
if you're Japanese, I'd say ramen.
Right.
And ramen's Japanese, right? I didn't just.
I think so.
Or if say you were Hungarian, say like what kind of goulashes do you have, for example?
Right.
Something like that is what I would do.
So here's another funny one. One of the guys, this is from...
But also, you'd have to be able to think of that stuff in the moment, which is way harder
Right.
than me.
And sometimes those brain
replying.
farts are really funny, what you come up with in that moment, right? So this one's funny. This is from @HardlyGirl. One of the guys I used to work with forgot the name of a tape measure, called it How Far Machine. It has passed into everyday vocabulary now. And that's what it is, How Far Machine. Why not?
I guess so. Hey, pass me the How Far machine. Speaking of which, that could now be an iPhone. Have you seen that feature?
No. What feature is that?
Your iPhone has like a measurement tool where you can like put your camera up to something and like mark a spot and drag it along a distance, and it'll
Okay.
tell you how long the distance is.
That's really cool. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Good to know.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
This one
How
is
Far
from
machine.
Kismet80. As a bilingual person, I do this all the time. Although my problem is I can often think of the word in the other language, but not the one I'm speaking right now.
Yeah.
I once had to describe pineapple as a hairy pear with a ponytail because I couldn't translate ananas from French to English.
Ananas.
Hairy
That's the
pear
funny-
with a ponytail.
Hairy pear with a ponytail. That's the funny thing about. Wait. First of all, pineapples aren't hairy.
I mean, but they have like the things on them.
Oh, like I guess they have kind of stringy.
Yeah.
When I think of a hairy fruit, I'm thinking of a coconut, of a
Okay.
kiwi, of a peach or something like that. I wouldn't think pear, but ananas, pineapple. That's the interesting thing about pineapple too is ananas works in so many languages except English, but it works
Right.
in like most European languages.
Yeah, and Czech, it's also ananas.
There you
German,
go.
it's ananas. French, I think Spanish. This one's kind of funny. So this is from Lori Winkless. Not in the same league, but in the final throes of writing SATC, I forgot the word fork while sitting in a restaurant. I asked the waiter for one of the metal things with 4 stabby fingers. Obviously, he looked at me like I was insane.
It's interesting also how these brain farts work, where it's like you can't think of the word fork, but wait, these are not foreign or non-native English
These are native
speakers,
speakers, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Never mind.
Right.
Yeah, that's man. These like hearing some of these kind of make me uncomfortable.
Right.
To be honest with you.
This one's pretty funny. This is from Alistair Dove. Reminds me of my 2-year-old daughter explaining a hot dog to me as a meat pickle.
Gross. That
kinda-
really makes them even more unappetizing than
Right.
they are to me. Do you like pickles?
Oh, I love pickles. But yeah, meat pickle. Yeah, that's definitely weird. This one, though, Jared, when I read this one, maybe I wonder what your response is. But I read this one and I literally laughed out loud. This is from @Manga Critic. During a lecture on the Mannheim Orchestra, I couldn't remember the term tremolo, so I described the orchestra's fondness for decorating passages with the nervous chihuahua effect.
The nervous chihuahua effect.
Because that's kind of what a tremolo is. You know, it's like especially if it's a violin really high up.
Oh, by nervous chihuahua, it means like one of those shaky kind of dog.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I understand. I don't know. How do you even think of that though? Like that's what I'm more curious about.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's like, I guess
idea.
I know what you're talking about. It's just I don't know where that came from.
And this is my favorite one. This is from @BramptonMel. My 17-year-old forgot the word foal, and for those of you who don't know what a foal is, it's a baby horse. In the summer.
Oh, I thought you meant
and they
foal,
called
like,
it a horse puppy instead. So I think that's pretty good. A horse puppy.
I guess so. It
Instead of a
gets the
foal.
job done.
Yeah,
you could
it
just said a
definitely
baby
gets the job
horse,
done.
but
Yeah.
I don't think I knew foal was. I mean, I knew it, but I wouldn't be able to pull that out.
Right.
And if someone
Okay.
said foal to me, I'd be like, oh, I guess that is baby horse. Okay.
So I lied. I have one more. Sorry, I forgot about this one. This
Please.
one's really good. Hello, I have a degree in
Regiosta.
English Lit, and thanks to a random brain freeze or brain fart, I forgot the word for memory, so I called it a remembrance thought. Remembrance
works.
thought. Yeah,
I
works.
don't think I'd think twice about that one.
Sounds fancy, right? A remembrance
ooh.
thought,
Tell me about it.
right?
Sounds
Exactly.
intense.
Do you have any left for us, Jared?
I do not.
Then let's
But-
move on.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was about to say. But I do want to talk about the song of the pod. Is what I was going to say.
So let's do it.
Well, you chose it, so please introduce it.
So the song that I chose, I have to give a very late shout out to my good friend Robert from high school. He's living in Chile right now, finishing up his degree in medicine, and will become a doctor. And he showed me this song actually when I was in high school. And the song is called Los Momentos, which I believe means the moments.
Yeah.
By the band Los Blops, which was like a 70s group, rock group, hippie group in Chile. It starts off with some really nice acoustic guitar, and it's a great song. What are your thoughts on it, though, Jared?
Based off of the little context clues and few Spanish words I know, my thought was, well, one is very peaceful. It's very soothing to listen to. My assumption was that this song was a sort of like a nostalgic, remember the time kind of song, because cuando is said over and over again, which is Spanish for when. So I assume it was like when we used to do this or when we used to go here. And it was, you know, even though I couldn't understand other than just like the general theme of the song, it was very peaceful to listen to. And as we say consistently on this show, songs in Spanish are just better.
It sounds great.
They're just better.
I think it's only acoustic guitar and voice. Right?
I believe so. You're usually the one listening to the song during the song.
I'm listening to it right now, yeah.
Well, you tell me.
I mean, all I hear is acoustic guitar and voice.
Okay, well, there
And
you go.
I can also picture this being played at a bar in like Chile, where it's from. There's like a part at the end of the song where they're like singing like la 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
I could picture like everybody at the bar just like singing that together.
Could you actually imagine something like, I mean, you could picture it, but would something like that happen?
Maybe.
Is that-
Why not? You know, I've been to.
I mean more of like a cultural thing, because like it would be almost weird to imagine that happening, say in Germany, for example.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Have you not been to a bar where they play like Fliegerlied and people lose their shit?
I don't even know what Fliegerlied is.
What? You don't know Fliegerlied?
No, maybe that'll be a future song
All
of
right.
the pod.
All right. But anyways, Los Momentos, yeah, it's a fabulous song. Beautiful melody, beautiful guitar part. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's kind of a nostalgic story, about things in the past. Most definitely.
Which I like. I like that.
Oh,
I'm
most
definitely. I like to dwell on the past.
Yeah, sometimes it's good. Not
know.
too much, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know.
All right, so as our listeners by now probably know, you will be joining me in Germany and then later in the Czech Republic in a few weeks. So instead of me giving
No,
Czech
that's
words,
not true. Well, most of that's true, except it's a week and a day, not
a week and a day. There you go. A week and a day. So let's work on your check a little bit, Jared. Let's see what you remember since the last time we recorded.
Okay. Výborný.
So how do you say yes?
Ano.
How do you say no?
Ne.
Good. Ooh, here, this is a good phrase, and I think I've used this on the podcast before. So we'll keep this more in check, and I'll teach you the phrase, how do you say? How do you say is jak?
Jak.
Se.
Jak se.
Řekne.
Jak se řešne.
Well, the way you would probably try to say it would be jak se řekne.
Jak se řekne.
Which means how do you say?
And
so
Jared, how would they actually say it, or how did you say it?
Jak se řekne.
Yeah, I'll just go with Jek. I'll go with Jek.
Yeah. It's like the composer's name Dvorak, right? Dvorak.
Oh, yeah.
I can't always get it.
Dvorak.
Yeah, you can say Dvorak.
Oh shit! I gotta email that dude.
Oh, that's right. That's true. Anyways, so Jared, we've covered yes and no. So Jared, jak se řekne please?
Prosím.
Good. Dobrý.
Dobrý
That
den.
means good. Dobrý den, yeah. Jak se řekne hello?
Oh, what? I don't remember how to say hello.
There's two of them. There's the good day, and then there's the more informal one. You just said the good day one.
Oh, dobrý den.
And what's the more informal one? Do you remember? This is like my favorite Czech word.
Yoi.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. Okay.
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
And ahoy is also goodbye. Hello and goodbye.
Okay.
So you can use that
ciao.
both ways. Exactly. Do you remember how to ask for the bill?
Uczek prosím.
Very good. Yeah, Uczek prosím.
There's another one too. There's two of them.
With P.
Platet. Platit prosím.
Very good.
Uczek prosím or platit prosím.
Good. What I usually say now is zaplatime prosím, which means could we pay? But you can say platit prosím or uczek prosím.
I'm not asking if I can pay. I'm ready to pay.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Give me that bill.
Good. Okay. What are some other useful? What are some phrases you would like to know? I may know them. I may not. This is a shot in the dark. But what are some phrases that you might like to know?
Like, how are you?
Oh, that's a good one. You've seen the movie Borat, right?
Yeah, jak se máš?
There you go.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, jak se máš.
Jak se máš.
And if it's someone you don't know very well, you would say jak se máte.
Jak se máte. Right.
Yeah, jak se máš.
Oh, and then thank you was yakuya. Because I know it's yakuya me as we thank you.
Děkuji.
Děkuji. Right, děkuji.
Děkuji me is we thank you.
Right. Děkuji me. I need to I keep forgetting that it's the dia.
Yep. Yeah, the D on there. Yeah. What other things do you want to know?
Today. How do you say today?
Dnes.
And tomorrow.
Dnes. Oh, shoot. What is tomorrow? Oh, no. I'm having a brain fart. What is tomorrow? Zitra is yesterday, I think. What's tomorrow?
Dnes.
Dnes is today.
Dinesh D'Souza, my favorite political commentator.
And then week is Tiden. Dalshi Tiden would be next week.
Okay.
I don't know tomorrow. I'm having a brain fart. All right, but I think that's good enough for now. I don't want to overload you.
Okay.
All right, so I got a couple corny jokes as usual. So Jared, do you want me to start off with puns or with some kind of dad-esque jokes?
Puns, then the dad-esque.
Puns. All right. So how much does a pirate pay for corn?
How much?
A buccaneer.
Okay. I think we could punch that one up a little bit. How much does a pirate pay for corn? An arm and a leg, for example.
Ooh, that's better. That's definitely better. Okay.
How much does a pirate pay for corn?
It's worth all of his booty.
Yeah, you could use booty. I was trying to avoid a booty one, but of course there's always booty. I'm just saying there's better options, but I'll
That's
still give it
true.
to it.
That's true. All right, I'm going to give you a couple. Well, wait. Let me see if I can find this other pun really quick. All right. What do you call a sad pup or a sad dog?
What's that?
A melancholy.
Woof, woof, woof.
What's a dog's favorite type of homework to do?
I have no idea.
A lab report.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That could kind of be a dark joke.
That could be a dark joke.
Because I just imagine someone like doing some sort of weird experiment on time for a lab report. That's what I say
true.
about my neighbor's dog.
That's fair. That's the one that bit you, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a lab, actually.
Okay.
But it is golden.
Okay. So, Jared, what lies at the bottom of the ocean and twitches?
I don't know. What is it?
A nervous wreck.
That was a bad joke, for sure.
And here's my last joke for all of our listeners today. If prisoners could take their own mug shots, what would they be called?
I don't know.
Selfies.
It's funny to be in prison.
Right, right. Because they're in the prison cell.
Yeah.
All right.
People? You're not allowed smartphones in prison. That's a dumb question.
Probably not. I think. Yeah, and you're probably not even allowed cell phones. I'm sure they find a way to get them. But yeah.
Oh, for sure. I wonder if they're allowed to listen to podcasts and stuff.
If they are, they should check out the Untranslatable podcast.
Yeah, for sure. If you could listen to podcasts in prison, I think I could do well in prison. Not do well with. I can't.
You mean our podcast would?
No, I can't comment on how. No, I'm saying I would do well in prison as a person, not we. I'm not. I don't think. If people leave me alone, I'm saying.
I see.
I feel like I can listen to podcasts for a long amount of time without getting sick of them.
Probably, I think you could. Well, Jared, it's come to that time for us to give our listeners a quote of the pod. And today, we were talking about language mistakes made by native speakers, non-native speakers, people making mistakes in other languages, people having brain farts, which isn't necessarily a mistake, but it's definitely a funny way to describe certain words. And the quote of the pod today, is from me, and it is:
Who dat?
Make language mistakes, because without mistakes, you won't learn nearly as much, and a lot of times you'll have a funny story at the end of the day.
Parada.
Now we're quoting ourselves here, everyone.
That's
You
true.
heard it.
It's true.
That is. Did you write that earlier, or did you just pull that off the top of your head?
Off the fly.
Look at that.
Yep. I guess it would be on the fly, wouldn't it?
We could make that a thing. Forget quoting other people. You just sum up our episodes with a quote of the pod.
That's a good idea.
I mean, you
maybe.
can quote other people if you want to.
Right. We'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I just couldn't find any good ones that really seem to apply to our episode today. And the last thing I want to mention, I had a big language mistake when I was in Germany for the first time. I think I may have even mentioned this on the pod, where I ordered a pepperoni pizza in Berlin, actually.
Classic.
And what did I get, Jared?
Well, pepperoni in America is salami pieces, essentially. And in Europe, it's pepperoni peppers, like they're like those yellow peppers.
Right. Exactly. So that's what I ended up getting. It was a pizza with a bunch of yellow peppers on it. It was
But
good.
you like those, don't you? Yeah, I don't like those. That would
I
really
like
be
spicy.
a problem for me.
Right.
It's not that I don't like spicy. I just don't want a pizza with peppers on it.
That's fair.
Like that.
I mean, yeah, it was a little strange to have just all peppers and nothing else on the pizza. But
Right.
it is what it is. What can you do? And you make the mistake and you learn from it. And that's the beauty of a lot of these mistakes. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let us know some of your language mistakes. We would love to hear them and feature them on a future episode. And you can reach us at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com, Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram, and Untranslatable1, the number 1 on Twitter. check out our Song of the Pod that will be up there. We would really appreciate hearing from you. A big shout out to all of our listeners all over the world. We really appreciate your support. It's really great, and we would love to hear from all of you. So thank you again, and as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Yakuyeme.